Hello, hello. Testing 1, 2, 3. Beautiful. Welcome. Hello, everyone, online and in person. Obviously, hello again. I'm going to lead us through some devotional chanting and then an affirmation, as was taught to me by my guru Paramahansa Yogananda, which I used to learn how to cook in one of his ashrams here in Hidden Valley, which is in San Diego. So the way that we're going to say that the affirmation is out loud and then whisper it and then mentally say it. And the reason for that is you're going to program the conscious mind and then the subconscious mind and then the superconscious mind. And the way to do that is to look at the spiritual eye. So if you're new to looking at the spiritual eye, you put your hand up here. It's about 2 feet out and 1 foot up. And then you can kind of see where that gaze is. And essentially you're looking at the pineal gland, which is made up of the same organic material as an eyeball. And it secretes DMT, which creates visions and dreams. And it also creates melatonin, which regulates our hormones and our sleep cycles. So as we're doing the affirmation, we'll be looking at the spiritual eye and activating it, and that'll draw the energy up the spine and into the third eye, which is where we see light, which is a reflection of the light that comes from the back of our heads, where the light comes in through the medulla oblongata, which also happens to be the only place you cannot operate on. So that's an interesting thing. That area is called the mouth of God, the medulla oblongata. That's where we're basically remote controlled through cosmic life force and animated, and then we can see that reflection of that light that comes in as the spiritual line go through it. So anyhow, I'll start with a prayer and then we can get into all that. And hopefully during the affirmation, we can get into that superconscious state while we're repeating this affirmation of merging into light while we're whispering it. So if you'll put your hands together with me and repeat after me. Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, Friend, Beloved God, Yeshua Christ, Bhagavan Krishna, Mahavatar Babaji, Lahiri Mahashai, Swami Shri Yukteswar, Paramahansa Yogananda, Mother Mary, saints of all religions, we bow to you all. Divine Mother, may thy love shine forever on the sanctuary of our devotion, and may we be able to awaken thy love in all hearts. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. That means peace in Sanskrit, if that one's new to you. All right, I'm going to sing a song because I was taught that half of meditation is by opening the heart through chanting. And what's also interesting is it's a way to oxygenate the body too. So if you have enough oxygen, you can stay awake during the meditation, which is nice. And so when the heart's open and repeating, this is a call and response type song. So the simplicity of the words helps us to focus our minds. So you have the heart open and the mind is focused, and then you can meditate or concentrate on the divine. So I'm going to sing in Sanskrit. This song is for a goddess named Durga. and she's personified as riding on a tiger as a protector. So she's a protector energy, and it goes a little something like this. Jaya Chakadambe Ma, Jaya Chakadambe Ma. You say Jaya Chakadambe Ma, Jaya Chakadambe Ma, oh Jaya Chakadambe Ma, Jaya Chakadambe Ma, oh Jaya Chakadambe Ma, Jaya Chakadambe Ma. In case you're wondering, Ma means mother in just about every single language on the planet, including Sumerian. Jagadambe Ma, Jaya Chakadambe Ma, oh Jaya Chakadambe Ma, Jaya Chakadambe Ma. Hey Ma Durga, 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 hey Ma Durga. Jaya Chakadambe Ma, 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 oh Jaya Chakadambe Ma, Jaya Chakadambe Ma. Hey Ma Durga, 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 hey Ma Durga. Jagadambe Ma, Jaya Jagadambe Ma, oh Jaya Jagadambe Ma, Jaya Jagadambe Ma, oh Jaya Jagadambe Ma, Jaya Jagadambe Ma, oh Jaya Jagadambe Ma, Jaya Jagadambe Ma. Durga, hey Ma 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 Durga. So now that our hearts are wide open or opener, more open, we're going to say a affirmation written by Paramahansa Yogananda that will help to visualize and become one with divine light. And the words are, I am submerged in eternal light. It permeates every particle of my being. I am living in that light. The divine spirit fills me within and without. So we're going to repeat it out loud 6 times, and then we'll whisper it 6 times, and then I'll keep whispering it, and I'll prompt you to whisper it within your mind, so mentally chanting the affirmation, and that way we'll program our conscious, subconscious, and superconscious minds and more easily facilitate getting into a mystical state of consciousness and perceive the divine in our own way. Could be light, could be sound, could be Om, could be visions. Just every unique person will have their own experience. It could be peace. So let us begin. Let's repeat after me. I am submerged in eternal light. It permeates every particle of my being. I am living in that light. The divine spirit fills me within and without. I am living in that light. The divine spirit fills me within and without. I am submerged in eternal light. It permeates every particle of my being. I am living in that light. The divine spirit fills me within and without. I am submerged in eternal light. It permeates every particle of my being. I am living in that light. The divine spirit fills me within and without. I am submerged in eternal light. It permeates every particle of my being. I am living in that light. The divine spirit fills me within and without. I am submerged in eternal light. It permeates every particle of my being. I am living in that light. The Divine Spirit fills me within and without. I am submerged in eternal light. It permeates every particle of my being. I am living in that light. The Divine Spirit fills me within and without. I am submerged in eternal light. It permeates every particle of my being. The Divine Spirit fills me within and without. I am submerged in eternal light. It permeates every particle of my being. I am living in that light. The Divine Spirit fills me within and without. I am submerged in eternal light. It permeates every particle of my being. I am living in that light. The Divine Spirit fills me within and without. I am submerged in eternal light. It permeates every particle of my being. I am living in that light. The Divine Spirit fills me within and without. Okay, now as you look at your spiritual eye, your third eye, we're going to whisper this affirmation now. I am submerged in eternal light. It permeates every particle of my being. I am living in that light. The Divine Spirit fills me within and without. I am submerged in eternal light. It permeates every particle of my being. I am living in that light. The Divine Spirit fills me within and without. I am submerged in eternal light. It permeates every particle of my being. I am living in that light. The Divine Spirit fills me within and without. I am submerged in eternal light. It permeates every particle of my being. I am living in that light. The Divine Spirit fills me within and without. I am submerged in eternal light. It permeates every particle of my being. I am living in that light. The Divine Spirit fills me within and without. I am submerged in eternal light. It permeates every particle of my being. I am living in that light. The Divine Spirit fills me within and without. I am submerged in eternal light. It permeates every particle of my being. I am living in that light. The Divine Spirit fills me within and without. And now mentally chant this affirmation in your head, quietly, silently, and repeat after me. I am submerged in eternal light. It permeates every particle of my being. I am living in that light. The Divine Spirit fills me within and without. I am submerged in eternal light. It permeates every particle of my being. I am living in that light. The Divine Spirit fills me within and without. I am submerged in eternal light. It permeates every particle of my being. I am living in that light. The Divine Spirit fills me within and without. I am submerged in eternal light. It permeates every particle of my being. I am living in that light. The Divine Spirit fills me within and without. I am submerged in eternal light. It permeates every particle of my being. I am living in that light. The Divine Spirit fills me within and without. I am submerged in eternal light. It permeates every particle of my being. I am living in that light. The Divine Spirit fills me within and without. Inhale in through your nostril. Exhale through your mouth. Relax all your muscles. And as you continue breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth at your leisure, relaxing all your muscles on the exhale, visualize a 50-foot wide golden tunnel, and imagine flying through this tunnel at 100 miles an hour. And feel that love vibration from the golden light on your astral body as you're flying through this golden tunnel, through your spiritual eye. Flying, 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 free. And you come to see in the future, in the distance, a blue light. And as it draws near, you see that this is a 25-foot tunnel. And you dive through there. This beautiful golden or blue colors. And you're flying at 1,000 miles an hour through this tunnel, located in your spiritual eye. A sense of freedom and expansion. Flying so fast. You're going home. And in the distance, you see a white, silvery light. 5 foot wide, and it's shaped like a star, 5-pointed star, and you dive through there and fly at 1,000,000 miles an hour. So fast, faster than the speed of light. And you feel this magnetic pull drawing you closer and closer to something important and something so familiar. Something so exciting. And it opens up into an ocean of white light. Eternal ocean of light. And you merge with it like a bubble in the ocean and the sea. Feeling your body as the waves of light expanding through eternity. Eternal, blissful, ever conscious, and free. And you inhale a big breath of relief to finally be back home on your source, from whence we all came, light and power and love. And the next time your eyes open, you'll know that it is love looking through your eyes as you always carry home within you. Namaste. Wow. Welcome back. Yeah, it's hard to tell which one's home now. This is familiar, but we just went home. Anyhow, today we're talking about holistic wellness as it applies to body, mind, and soul. And as I was mentioning earlier, I spent my entire 20s cooking for monks in a yoga retreat center known as Self-Realization Fellowship. So I cooked healthy food for monks and guests from all over the world. And we made vegetarian food to satisfy the palates of men who had renounced everything, every sense pleasure other than food. And a lot of these people were new at meditation. And so it had to be good. It was very high stakes. The thing was, I didn't really know how to cook when I got the job. I didn't even know how to make rice. But I wanted to stay there so badly. And if I didn't get this job, I would have had to leave. And the reason for that is my college bills were coming in and I had to pay them back. And I didn't want to go into the world and get a job or anything like that. I had read Autobiography of a Yogi my third year of college, the last year of college, and I had renounced the world and my friends and family to go to this place and find God. That's how much of an impact that book's, Autobiography of a Yogi had made on me, changed my life. It's the reason I'm here in San Diego, because that's where the ashram is in the country out here. So I prayed to Yogananda, what do I do? And he said, don't worry about it. And I was like, well, I'm worried about it. And then the next day, my friend Tony, he said, why don't you apply for the chef position at the ashram? And I said, what do you mean? He goes, well, they're looking to hire a chef. It'll be the first time they hire an employee in 30 years of this retreat center. And you do great. And I was thinking to myself, I don't even know how to cook pasta hardly. Like, what are you talking about? But I had some experience in a pizzeria, just putting toppings on a pizza. And I worked in a French restaurant, making French fries and decorating desserts. And I put that on the resume. I thought it was kind of dishonest, but I really wanted to stay there and I was determined. So I put it on the application and they said, okay, we'll give you 90 days to prove that you can do this job. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner for 30 to 50 people, 3 times a day, 5 days a week, sometimes by myself. If you've ever cooked for 10 people, much less 50, you know how stressful doing that 3 times a day would be. And I thought I was going to have a heart attack every single day for about 6 months. But I used the affirmation methodology that I just took us through, and I repeated, I am brave, I am strong, perfume of success thoughts blows in me, I am brave, I am strong, perfume of success thoughts blows in me. And I would visualize the steps that I had memorized in the recipe books, that I would choose the recipes the day before and use the affirmations. And essentially I reprogrammed my subconscious and conscious and superconscious minds to believe that I could actually do this thing. And very similarly to that movie in The Matrix, I don't know if you've all seen it, but when they download a program of how to fly a helicopter, that happened to me about maybe 2.5 months into it where my soul touched the infinite sphere of spirit, and God asked me, "What do you want?" And I said, "Make me your cook." And he said, "Granted." It was great. It was a feeling I had of, if I was here in this consciousness, this perfect sphere of non-dual consciousness, I would be happy with that. It was such a wonderful feeling. It happened twice, and it happened after the affirmations. And I emphasize, the affirmations because they do work, and it takes discipline, and you have to do it every day for a considerable amount of time, maybe 20 minutes or more. And then I would meditate after that. And it can be applied to not only cooking. I've applied it to writing songs and recording music, making a band, learning massage therapy and Ayurveda. So I've been using this approach to doing things that would be considered maybe unrealistic, such as cooking, 3 times a day for 50 people with no experience. But when you have God behind you, aligning and blessing you, miracles can happen. And there hasn't been a day since that I thought to myself that I couldn't cook something, and so it could even be a health condition. The same principles can be applied. And it doesn't have to be a complicated affirmation. It could be a few words, like I am healthy, I am well, I am healthy, I am well, I'm healthy, I'm well, I'm healthy, I'm well. But it is important to do it with feeling, with will and concentration, and to incorporate the power of concentration that comes from looking at the spiritual eye and bringing that into play, because that's the seat of the soul. It's the pineal gland, as you all know by now. Yeah. So since then, I think I've learned 22 modalities of Ayurveda and Western and Japanese holistic practices for the physical body, and then all of the kind of healthy cooking. So I've cooked for all kinds of people with health conditions, from diabetes, cancer, obesity, mental health illnesses. And then spiritually, I think I've been meditating now every day for 24 years for at least an hour. And so like Carlos here, during the massages, there's a bit of energy healing that's incorporated. And then there's one type of session where after about 4 hours of massage, the energy work begins and people lose consciousness of their physical awareness, and they start becoming aware of their subtle light bodies and perceiving visions of their ancestors or Divine Mother. So one lady started seeing visions of the Egyptian god Horus would come to visit her. And so eventually I thought, okay, well, how do I incorporate all this stuff? You got the massage and the cooking and the music. Where does all this come from? And the conclusion that I came to finally was to become a holistic wellness mentor. That's just kind of what made sense. So that's what I do in addition to all the things I just mentioned. And I just launched a coaching mentorship business officially last week, and I have 2 clients already, so I'm very excited about that. And that's what I'm excited to share with the world, is what is the holistic approach to wellness and why does it matter, body, mind, and soul. So we're going to talk a little bit about that whole thing, your body, mind, and soul. So with the body, where does that start? Obviously exercise and diet. And I don't know if I'm saying things that everyone knows already or not, but when it comes to nutrition, I've seen and been part of almost every health fad in the last 25 years, and they always change and some cycle back around. Like the carnivore diet is just a recycling of the Atkins diet. And, so I've had to learn how to do all these things for people when they ask me. But one thing stays true, which is eating non-processed foods, eating foods that come from the ground and that aren't necessarily in a box or in a can or in a metal container, and that don't have lists of ingredients that you can't pronounce on them. So that's the first kind of obvious thing. Water is an interesting one, because if water is purified and the minerals are all taken out of there, when it comes into your body, it wants to remineralize. So it'll actually take the minerals out of your body to remineralize itself. So there's things you can do to remineralize water, like trace minerals and things like that, or actually buy already mineralized spring water. There's also the topic of structured water, which is worth exploring at your leisure. Then there's exercise. So with exercise, everybody's different, but there is a such thing as too much exercise. And so lifting weights that are just too heavy and, ruining the joints. And something that's interesting too is the sugar gets into the joints. So too much sugar creates inflammation, and the pain that we feel isn't actually necessary. That can be removed from avoiding or reducing processed white sugar and things like that, if and when possible. So that's a huge deal. And believe it or not, this is the first day after 59 days of a liquid fast that I just did. So I just did only liquids for the last basically 60 days. I've done it 10 times before for 45 days, and this time I went for 60. And everyone always asks, well, why did you do that? And well, as a chef, you eat a lot of food. You have to taste everything. And if it happens to be good, which it often is, you want a plate of it after the tasting. So there's 2 meals, and you might have to cook lunch and dinner. As a private chef, I might do breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It could be 5 meals in one day. So, I can gain up to 20 pounds in 6 months just from eating too many calories. So, fortunately, I have this impressive discipline, which I can make use of and stay within the reasonable limits. And what I discovered through this journey of doing all these fasts is that even if I'm not eating a lot of allergens, which are soy, dairy, wheat, corn, and sugar, those are the main kind of 5 allergens. Doesn't mean you're allergic to all of them, but when people are allergic to foods, it's usually one of those things. What I noticed though is even if I had too many blueberries in my smoothies, that would cause my body to become acidic. And when there's too much sugar, the bad bacteria in our guts called Candida grows too much, and that throws a lot of our functions and organ systems off. So Candida is responsible for like 20 or 30 different health problems. And so probably the biggest high leverage takeaway is really reduce the amount of sugar when you're eating food and find replacements, alternatives to desserts. You can have chocolate, you can have cake, you can have ice cream. These days, there's healthy alternatives for ice cream and cake and everything with monk fruit or stevia that in some cases are equally as good. There's chocolate bars sweetened with stevia and monk fruit, which has like 3 grams of sugar or less. Stevia is 0. So we live in a time when healthy alternatives, even when it comes to wheat, are within reach and not that distasteful as was the case in the 70s, 80s, early 90s when you talked about healthy alternatives to say wheat. Let me like have a rice flour cookie. No, thank you. It's really gross. But now with, all-purpose gluten-free flour, that's not as much of a problem. Monk fruit tastes good too. So sugar is like the number one thing I would say. Just try to eliminate that or reduce it significantly, because it's going to be in your vegetables anyway. It's going to be in your berries. If you're going to have some fruits, try and have some berries. Blackberries are probably the lowest glycemic berries, followed by blueberries. But we're talking like half, maybe quarter of a cup, ideally. And once in a while is okay. But because we've been encouraged to eat so much sugar, I forget when the government changed the recommendations on what was recommended in terms of sugar amounts. I think it was in the 70s. When that happened, we had, fast food restaurants come and, candy bar lanes, etc. So the epidemic in our country was unnecessarily encouraged. And now it's really, really hard to find food without sugar. It's almost impossible. So it just takes a lot of willpower and intentional shopping. So going into the grocery store and say, okay, well, I do want snacks. What kind of snacks can I have? Okay, well, let me find the healthy replacements and find the chocolate and the candy that is sweetened with stevia and or monk fruit, which is totally available, not necessarily in the major grocery stores like Ralph's or Vaughn's or anything like that, but at the health food stores, you can definitely do that. And then secondly, just looking at the package labels, and if there's ingredients like neurotoxins, preservatives, food coloring, thickeners, things like that, that destroy the lining of your gut, causing a thing called leaky gut syndrome, which makes it hard for your stomach to retain the nutrition in there, then just avoid it. So back to what I was saying earlier is keep it whole foods. Just if it's a processed, it's in a package, it's probably not that useful. And it's a lot easier to just get a pressure cooker and put some vegetables in there, and some salt, some spices, and it could be a $2 lentils that I made. I put broccoli and lentils and water and salt and curry powder, and I let it go for 30 minutes, and that was dinner. And it was so easy. So cooking healthy, eating healthy doesn't have to be hard. And if anybody here wants just recipes or meal plans, I'm happy to just send them to you for free. It's so easy for me. I've got tens of thousands of recipes in my head now, literally. Yes, so everyone's different. Everyone has a different, some people eat meat, some people don't. Some people, it's hard to just give a menu for that applies to every human. It's just not realistic. But it is possible to stick to your food philosophy within the range of whole foods and low sugar. That's really kind of the takeaway for that. And then with the exercise, just move around, go for a walk, brisk walk preferably, and don't abuse your body too much with heavy weights. I mean, I love weightlifting. I just don't try to go as heavy as humanly possible because it does have wear and tear on the joints. So longevity, like long-term thinking when it comes to exercise is really the point. Not so much how fast and how big and huge and strong can I get, but how can I keep my body mobile for the next 60 years? What activities can I do that will increase mobility and flexibility so that I can age gracefully and hopefully pain-free? That's more realistic. So then there's the other aspect to holistic wellness, which is the mind, which affects the emotions. So what thoughts are we thinking? Positive thoughts, obviously. And I really want to reemphasize the utility and power of affirmations when it comes to mental health. For example, a few days ago, I had a gathering at my house to celebrate two of our housemates that were new. And there's going to be some new people. And I felt for some reason, this is not very common for me anymore, it was in college, but I was feeling anxiety and nervousness all of a sudden. And I was like, wow, I don't feel this very often. So what I did is I grabbed my bracelet here, which I always wear. It's beads, and it has a separation that lets me know when I've completed my rounds. And I went around the bracelet and I said, I love myself. 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 I went around 3 times and then I felt great. And then just marinated in that light and that love, and remembered that that's what I am, and that's what we all are, and that's all that's real. And then I walked into that party with a full cup. And I like that analogy of a cup. I think it was Emerson that wrote a poem about filling our own cups with the eternal fountain of love within, and not bringing that empty cup or an empty cup to another person and say, fill my cup. And because it's not necessary, you can have an overflowing cup and have something to give and to contribute to the people around us, rather than hoping that somebody will fill it up for us. So that's the mental, and then that leads us to the emotional. So there's lots of fascinating topics with the emotions. Obviously the minds have an impact on the emotions, but there's other really relevant topics like attachment styles. So you have anxious attachment styles or avoidant attachment styles. So typically that would be called a codependent style or not. But long-term 25-year studies have determined that codependent really isn't something that is true as much as a child may have an anxious attachment to their child, to their mother, and then 25 years later, they have that similar attachment style later. So it wasn't because they had some psychological issue. This was just their personality. So it doesn't mean there's something wrong with them. Running out of air, sorry. And there is an ideal, which is the secure attachment base. In any case, when it comes to relating to other human beings regularly, we find that there can be a lot of stress or fear if our attachment needs for security are not met. So it's really, really important to have that conversation with the person that we're choosing to partner up with and say, hey, are you interested and willing to meet my needs for security or not? Because if not, I need to know what I can expect and rely on when it comes to relating with you. And it's a very important conversation, but not everyone has that conversation. So maybe there's a partner who just wants to see you once in a while, and they're not available to celebrate your wins or to hear about your day or hug you regularly. And if that's the case, it would have been helpful to have that conversation prior and say, hey, what is your intention, when it comes to partnership? Do you want to be a place of where I can regulate and co-regulate my nervous system with you or not? And if I know that ahead of time, then we can both avoid a lot of pain and frustration. So just having that conversation when it comes to the emotions, I think you can relate, would have avoided a lot of pain. So that's emotions. What else with the emotions? Self-love. Self-love is a major piece. I remember earlier, the second year in the ashram, I was trying to feel God's love and I couldn't feel it. And I didn't know why, because I would sit at the altar, I'd show up early for meditation, I would stay up late past, we had morning and noon and evening meditations. And so I was doing the work, but I wasn't feeling the love that I wanted to feel. And there were 2 reasons that I discovered. The number one was I wasn't giving love to the divine. I was just expecting love. And so as with a relationship, that doesn't work. Like you have to give something, you have to contribute something. And so Yogananda often said, God has everything, but he doesn't have our love. And that's all he really wants. He wants to know that we choose him and that we love him. or her, depending on how you're relating to the divine. And so I started saying, I love you, God, I love you, God, I love you, God. And then the gates of my heart just bursted open and the love just flooded in. And that was the beginning of the rest of a very love-filled life from that realization, is to come to give rather than to come to take. And the self-love piece, I started incorporating these malas here. 108 beads is usually kind of what they have, but one thing that I didn't get growing up was validation and affirmation that would have helped me feel confident and secure. And confident is really that word. And so what I've had to do is train my mind and develop a loving relationship with myself in order to believe a couple things, to believe that I was worthy of love from the divine and that I was worthy of love from other people. And that's not something that either one of those can do for me. So I started doing this practice of just incorporating it at some point in my morning and evening routine, just going around like, I love myself, 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 I love myself. And I go around 1 or 2 or 3 times, depending on, what I was feeling. And then, at first I was like, well, this seems really self-centered or maybe egocentric. But the reality is, if I don't believe in myself and I don't appreciate myself and I don't think highly of myself as a child of God, then I'm not going to have love to contribute or love to give. I'm going to be coming to the table with an empty cup and trying to have it filled from the outside. And so self-love is important, especially if you consider, what self are you talking about? Is it the ego or is it the higher self? And if that's the higher self, then humility isn't playing small. Humility is acknowledging that there's only God. Like, you're God, you're God, you're God, I'm God, Dennis is God, this flower is God, the air that I'm breathing, the notes that are coming out of my mouth is an expression of the Divine Mother. It's all God. And now we're never alone, and self-confidence and insecurity becomes irrelevant. And being egoic is more about forgetting our oneness with God rather than thinking too highly of ourselves. Yeah. And lastly, the spiritual component is spending time with the divine to cultivate a divine romance in the similar way that one would develop a relationship. You have to spend quality time with God, which is another way of saying you have to spend quality time with love and make love to love in whatever way is natural to you. We all have different practices and interests and lineages and past life heritages, and so that's a very personal thing. And as they say, all roads lead to Rome. So that brings us to the unpopular topic of discipline and consistency. It's like, it's too hard to meditate. I have too much things to do. I can't concentrate. I have trouble focusing. My mind's just too wild and all this stuff. And the reality is, just like with anything else, whether it's healthy eating or exercise or learning a skill, even reading and walking, all these things take time and they take practice, and with consistency, and you get better by doing, and there's no way around that. And so it is important, though, to choose something and stick to it long enough to master it, especially when it comes to meditation, because what we're up against is a mind that has a really difficult time concentrating. And so there's one type of meditation where you say a mantra to watch the breath in and out, and that's for concentration. So an example of that would be breathing in, I am, and then breathing out, peace, breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. And every time the breath naturally wants to flow in, you say I am, and when the breath naturally wants to exhale out the nose, peace, while looking at the third eye. And that's a concentration meditation technique that with practice can help us focus. What's a neat sidebar about that is learning to focus in meditation also applies and becomes a tool that you can use in business or in life. You can concentrate on the tasks at hand and not get distracted and walk into a room. What did I come here for? I forget. So that happens less when you practice concentration exercises, which bring you to the now. And the now, the space between thoughts, the presence, which you all feel and have been feeling for decades now, is where we find the divine. And in that space of the present tense, we can start to notice the peace and recognize that it's not just peace. It's not just some object out there, some random thing. It's God. God is peace. That's the first expression of God's presence. And it's a really big deal. It's also the entry point into more fulfilling relations with the divine, which turn into love, because that peace, as Christ said, that peace that surpasseth understanding, it's so overwhelming and it's so intoxicating that you can't but feel gratitude for this peace. And that gratitude turns into a divine romance. And that's where it really gets interesting, because then you always have this divine companionship with your divine beloved who you can count on. And you don't need to have that conversation with, because you know God's always there. Oh, and so you can have a daily conversation with the divine, like, okay, now I'm washing dishes. I'm looking at my hands are God, and the dishes are God, and the water is God, and I'm talking to God, like, let's wash these dishes together, Lord. And whatever's going on, you can talk to the divine beloved in the same way that you would talk to your, physical partner if you had one or not. Doesn't matter, because when you have access to love directly, partnership actually becomes irrelevant. You have direct source. You can tap love directly. Not to say that human partnership isn't great. I mean, it can be, but it can be horrible too. Because we're all here learning in school, right? So there is a lot of reason to take the time to cultivate regularity and consistency and apply discipline. Discipline sounds like a horrible word, but it's just a root word for the word disciple. Disciples learning, or students. You're learning from the masters that have come to show us the way to feel that fire burning in our heart and ignite the fire to burn the pain and suffering and light of, a fire of divine love forever, so we can merge into that eternal light forever and ever. So that is my take on holistic wellness, and I hope you enjoyed it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because it's very simple, very practical the way you formulate it.
Mm-hmm.
And it felt place in me. I mean, essentially this is, I wouldn't say this is what I focus on all the time,
Mm-hmm.
but it hits buttons inside, because I have them.
Yeah.
Just activate them. And the simplicity of it is what I like. It's not so much difficult twist and theory,
Uh-huh.
but it's what you can do,
Yeah.
where you can participate in life.
Mm.
Because this is very, very essential, that neediness in partnerships.
Yep.
Can be in friendship, can be in work situations, can be in many, many things.
Mm-hmm.
Appears that. And actually, we are coming in with an empty cup
Mm-hmm.
all the time. And we are feeding that pattern.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about myself, okay?
Sure.
I'm feeding the pattern.
Yeah.
Not others, because actually I am in business. This is business.
Yeah.
to be in that dynamic, you can say, dynamic of life, that empowerment, that beingness which you, everybody is. We are just manifestation of that. But because of our education in conditioning, we are actually far away from it. And in it, that is the we think we are, but we are not. So we are in it because it's part of us. It's my inner.
Yeah.
But I can't give it expression because of my lack of, or I would say my approach to it, or the approach to myself is completely the different angle, you know? But this is very essential.
Yeah.
Are you coming to give or participate?
Yeah.
I need love. I feel alone. Oh my God. This is the medicine.
Yeah.
The medicine is really coming forward. I would say for power, from power.
Yeah.
But no, the real power, right?
Yeah.
Gentleness,
Absolutely.
gratitude, whatever.
Yeah.
But very good. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you for listening and having
Yeah.
me. It's an honor.
Somebody else?
I love the approach to Ayurveda. I was in India and I learned a little bit, and I love Ayurveda. And I share with you also the love of cooking, but I don't like cooking for a lot of people. I did that as a catering business once, and I learned the bad way. Like, oh, I love cooking to friends, for friends, family.
Yeah.
And it's very nourishing to me. I love it. I just enjoy.
Yeah.
It's a joy
Yeah.
to me.
Talk about
And
a way
it's
to give.
therapy. Eh?
We're talking about bringing, giving something rather than trying
Right.
to take something. Giving food is
Exactly.
one of the
Giving
best.
food, sharing food with
Yeah.
friends, family. I love it. It's something very, very nice.
Yeah. Brings us
and
together.
Bringing the cup. I think not always people are prepared for that, for giving or receiving. And I've been on the other hand that I have to learn to receive, right? Yes.
That's her.
Yeah. So I like giving, but I think the other side is also very important.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you for everything.
Of course. Yeah.
She mentioned a point which is very, for me, to be in balance with. Giving and receiving, okay? I always thought that in the same action of giving is also receiving. Yes, but she mentioned something very, very important. Not everybody is up to that level, for example. What should be the attitude? One's attitude to keep in that flow. The flow of not counting the cost, for example.
Yeah. Unconditional.
That's
Unconditional
the
love.
word, right?
Yeah.
It's unconditional.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if I am giving something to Dennis or something, and then, oh, well, it cost me so much. Or maybe Dennis doesn't like it, you know. Well, I am really getting aside the flow, right? So it should be unconditional. See, this is for you. So spontaneity will be also.
Yeah, especially when you see God as everyone, you're excited to give, and it's not about, are you giving to this person and hopefully they give you something back that's in equal value, because you are blessed to be able not only to give to the divine because you love the divine, because you know that's all that is, but also there is a selfish aspect to it, in the sense that, you know, we're always thinking about money, like, oh, I need more money in my bank account. But the reality is, if somebody's coming as an opportunity to us who needs help, you know, let's say it's a homeless person, you give them food, you think, oh, I did something nice for that homeless person, I'm such a good person, or whatever, I did a good thing. Actually, no. They gave you the opportunity to contribute to your own karmic bank account that you may need to draw from in the future, either in this life or other lifetimes. So giving, it's more important than, you know, accumulating financial wealth, because you don't know like how long it's going to take to get back to eternal light and not have to reincarnate. There's no guarantee that says we're going to come back in the United States and live in a prosperous nation. There's no guarantee. So really taking it seriously, like how can I give? How can I contribute? How can I make the world a better place? Because that's helping me in the future. And of course, in the bigger picture, that's helping God, you know, which is the higher self, the bigger me. There's a lot of ways of looking at it. But yeah, really getting serious, saying, how can I serve today and maybe even this year? How do I want to give this year? How much, not only money, but how much of my time, love, and affection and support can I realistically give and make that a big part of, an important part of my life? You know, at least 10% of your time and energy and resources, if that's financial or just skill based. You know, that doesn't matter.
I was thinking also at the same time that that when you cook, do you cook, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So when you cook that food, if you are in that flow and attitude, as you were participating,
yeah,
it tastes good.
So much better with love.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and when you're practicing the presence of the divine, so there's meditation, but then the goal is to stay peaceful after the meditation, and that's called practicing the presence of God. So then in that state, it's more of a witness consciousness. There's not so many thoughts, and the witness allows for intuition, which several of you are quite good at, just perceiving subtleties and energetic shifts, but that also manifests in thoughts from the divine, which is how I learned to cook, is God says, okay, now add this, now add that. Same with massage, you're listening. Everything is about listening, you know, with cooking as well. So yeah.
Because I experience sometimes, not all the time, that the time passes by very fast when I am in a certain flow.
Yeah, because there's no time.
There's no time.
There's no time.
There's no time. Yeah. But when it's like the clock, oh my God, this is tedious work. Like, you know, this person is really massages. Hard to get in contact with, you know. She look in the wall. Tick, tick, tick. It doesn't go faster. You know, you say something about the touch in the attitude when you are doing that, right? I had a barber in Amsterdam. I used to live in the Netherlands, but anyway, this man was a Moroccan, was an Arab, and he was very different from the other Muslims. He was very friendly with everybody, not like a Christian or Jewish or very nice. Every time he cut my hair, I was very happy after that.
You blessed your head. Yeah, you're blessing people with your hands.
I was like, oh my God, you know, this halit is amazing, you know.
I love that.
That is, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, who touched your head? My God.
Yeah, it's so inspiring, because even when somebody's in your presence, they can be blessed not only by your touch, but by your thoughts and your well wishes and your acknowledgement of their soul, or that the divine is that person. And then they remember that. People, even in marketing, people remember not what you did, but how you made them feel. And that's really the biggest thing. How do you make people feel? How will they remember their experience with you? Yeah. Massage is just such a great opportunity.
But I've been experiencing that song with you. You blow me.
The song?
Yeah. I don't know if it's the song. Is the
oh, that's sound healing. That's a different thing.
You know, it's like probably imitating the whistling of the wind or whatever it is, you know. But anyway,
I think of it as the crystal healing bowls, but with the voice. certain frequencies can bless your cells and.
That is what I experienced. That was very special.
Yeah.
I just woke up, not to talk to you. I just woke up. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you, Carlos.
Well, I just wanted to thank you. I've been contemplating the divine relationship for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And to take it to that next step to something really way more personal.
Yep.
That God is inside of you, not outside of you.
Mm-hmm.
And I personally think overthinking it is not my style.
Yeah.
Yours. I prefer to just go with the flow, and very often it just happens. Like I'm sure with your cooking, you didn't have time to sit down and you probably had to plan it somewhat, but anyway, thank you.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing you say is you don't value having like a specific methodology to the cultivation of your relationship with the divine. You let it flow more. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Listening, yeah.
Listening.
Just in the busy day, you have to take a breath and try to listen, and it's more of a flow thing. You find yourself doing it before you even think about it. It's been my experience.
Yeah, I think that's good and possible if your desire to know the divine is strong enough that you would actually show up beyond the confines of a schedule. If not, though, then the discipline is really important until you get to that place where you're feeling peace and joy and love and contemplating the divine more parts of the day than not, which also means that you're feeling love more often and safety within your nervous system more than fear, which comes from regular meditation too. So there is even like a practical, benefit to it too.
I never said I didn't do those.
Huh?
And I'm still grateful.
Yeah.
It is true that when I meditate, it's like medication. I used to tell my cousin, when I meditate, I just see life in Technicolor. Like
Wow.
everything is like better,
Wow.
brighter. I can hear everything. I can see things. I remember at a time that I was meditating, so like you said, an hour a day, and then I was experiencing miracles. Like every day I look for something and I found it. And then when I kind of shorten it, my meditation, because of being more practical, but I see the differences that definitely you show up more, like you're more mindful and you can see the things that are around you when you meditate, whether when you don't so much is just life goes faster and and you just see like images, right? Whether when I meditate, I see life in another perspective. I can even feel that I can not stop the time, but make it still and last moments longer. Whether when I'm not, I see a lot of other images in my life, like going through, and I cannot withdraw myself and look at it, but I'm into it. So to me, that's the difference of meditation and not meditation, right?
Yeah,
That
you're
being
magnetizing.
mindful.
You're making your spiritual eye a bigger magnet than the lower chakras. The nerve endings and the energy channels are all going down the spine and out towards the senses. And so the philosophy of yoga is to reverse the searchlights of the senses and go back inward from all the legs and the arms into the central nervous system, to that bundle of nerves. And then with the techniques of meditation, pranayama, which means life force control, energy control, bring the energy up the spine and then into the third eye. So if I think most of you are kind of reincarnated yogis and mystics and saints in a couple cases, And so from many lifetimes of practice, your heart chakras and your spiritual eyes are already magnetized. And so it's already kind of seeing life in technicolor, like you're saying, and your intuition is already developed. And but it's interesting to know the mechanics and the science of what it is that we're learning in meditation, how to shut off the senses of sight, sound, taste, smell, touch. With practice, you can do it at will, and you can put yourself at sleep at will, but your soul, your awareness is still awake, and you can perceive the lights and see, the beings and everything that are beyond this third dimension. And so that's why the practice is so important, because over time you can learn how to shut off those five senses and eventually go, not only see the spiritual eye, but go through the spiritual eye and merge into light. And that's, it's one thing to say like, I don't want to meditate, or it's just not my thing. But then there's the reality of the science behind it. And so if it's the case that somebody's not doing it, but still floating, they're being blessed by the efforts from past lives, from magnetizing that. And it doesn't mean that the goal has been at reach. It just means we're in a nice place now, and this is enjoyable. And even with mastery, there's a never-ending depth to how much bliss you can feel, how much self-realization you can feel, how much ecstasy there is. So there's even a master who knows how to shut it off and perceive light beyond the third dimension still has to show up and meditate and apply that discipline to dive deeper and deeper and deeper into greater ecstatic states of communion with the divine. That's all.
Yeah.
That was a lot, huh?
Yes.
Sorry.
I maybe share something that it was today a very, very busy day, that it was one thing after another. And at some point I was driving, thinking about all these things, and started causing me anxiety.
Yeah.
A lot. And that point that I even had, like, my heart was hurting, and I was like, what's going on, right?
Yeah.
Stop it. So I kind of stop. So I went back to my breathing,
Breath,
but also affirmation. And that's very important when you cannot really meditate, because you have to have all your senses
so
there,
true.
and
Absolutely.
you cannot, okay, I'm going to meditate now.
Yeah.
No, I have to drive, and I have to go through. I cannot.
That's good. You got a hold of your mind.
I have to
Good.
get it done, right? And I cannot just withdraw myself and no. I'm here, right? So what I did is affirmations.
Great.
I started doing affirmations, immediately went away.
Yeah.
Pain, stress, and I was like, oh, okay, that's it. That's why I think it works, definitely. When you cannot meditate at the time, affirmations are
And
great.
even if one is restless and they're sitting down on their chair or their pillow to meditate, they might still feel anxiety and still feel restless, still feel nervous. Why? We don't know. It could be blood sugar. That's an important actually consideration, is when the blood sugar, because we don't have enough protein in our body, the blood sugar drops, and that can cause tiredness and anxiety and depression even. And so just, have I had enough consistent protein? Doesn't have to be animal protein, but it could be like cashew nuts or something like that. And then you can balance your blood sugar. If it's not blood sugar, but it's mental, psychological, using the affirmation before the meditation is a great way to grab hold of the mind and get it stuck into the present moment before engaging into like a breathing pattern or something like that. So it could be singing or an affirmation or a mantra, because they're so easy, to say. It's like 3 words. Whereas the breathing pattern, if you're not concentrated and you're not calm already, you can still think a lot of thoughts as you're doing a breath pattern, and that can be a problem. You can be thinking about the past, or you're worrying about the future and the present, so that can be overwhelming. So like I said, singing before the meditation or doing an affirmation or both is a great way to get into the heart and into the present moment. And congratulations on grabbing a hold of your mind during the day when you feel anxious.
Something.
Yeah. That's good. You got it. You're doing good.
Thank you. It was broke. of me. I was
Yeah, you
okay,
should
I
be.
got it. It's okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. Somebody else wants to say anything?
Love that meditation. So juicy. I didn't want to stop.
Yeah.
You know, so good. I want to thank you for coming.
Of course.
It was like a master class. Just a beautiful, the way you synthesized all that wisdom and just like took us
That's my
there.
first talk on holistic health. I mean, I did classes on Ayurveda before, but
Yeah.
this is my first one on
Effortless, just flowed, body, mind, and soul, and connected all the information, seamless. It was, I'm going to go back and listen to this. I'm going to send this video out, to friends and people that I know would benefit from this. And, this is going to be a wonderful business. This is going to be, your fulfilling of your dharma, your mission.
Encinitas. Yeah. Great. That's exciting. I'd be honored.
Yeah, yeah. The masters, the ascended masters, we want to feed our light body. We want to feed it love, light, the Holy Spirit. These divine frequencies expand our light body. And really, it is body, mind, and soul. The whole package that takes us, the container of all that. And when it's balanced like that, then we have peace that allows us to sit and see the inner light, hear the inner voice. And that's, that's just a beautiful thing. Just, I love to have people that have never felt the presence of God, never felt the love of the Divine Mother, and to share this space with them where it's so tangible, it's so clear, and you can hear in the higher mind and in even the physical. So I hope this is not your first and only visit. I hope we can recruit you many, many times to lead us in meditation and take us into the wisdom that you embody, the love you embody, the truth. Everything is just like, I was in bliss over here. I was smiling ear to ear. I was eating it up.
Thank you, Dennis. You're so gracious.
I want to thank everybody online. I'm sorry you didn't make it in person. It was so good. Next time you have to be here when Prem's here. I'm not kidding. I think, if you would just close it in a prayer.
Sure.
And then that's this evening.
Well, that's
Thank
exciting.
you. I'm so blessed.
I've been doing this thing at home where I visualize the planet Earth in front of me, and then I say a mantra in Sanskrit, which translates in English to "May all beings be happy and free." Does everyone know that mantra already? Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Yeah, so I go and I do it maybe 12 times, and I imagine everybody being free and sovereign and remembering their divine heritage as light and power and love. And so let's do that. Let's say that Sanskrit mantra, which is a prayer. And I want to acknowledge all the I mean, some of you can see these beings, but all the unseen light beings that are here always and here today and now, thank you for blessing us individually and as a whole. And please join us in our prayers. We bless this planet and the galaxy and the solar system. So first thing we're going to do is rub our hands together to cultivate prana, or cosmic energy, and that heat. And then visualize the planet and everyone on it. And then imagine a beautiful white, silvery light uplifting and blessing and healing everybody, body, mind, and soul. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. 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 And then 3 ohms, body, mind, and soul for the planet. Om. 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 I'm going to say Shanti 3 times for world peace and harmony. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. So it is. I felt that. Did you guys feel that? The whole planet was blessed. I think it's so important to bless the planet again and again and again as a collective, as a whole, and visualize together. You know, I often think that people are getting around in meetings and visualizing for their own selfish interest and power, but we can do the same thing, and one light in a dark room is a lot more powerful than a dark room. So if we can do this more often, just every Tuesday.
What are you doing next week?
I don't know. Look at my calendar. I'd love to come back though. It's great. Yeah, it's so important. You know, I'm sure you all agree we're light beings that have come here to help uplift and upgrade the planet. You know, kind of like secret spies on a mission. And this is how we can apply leverage, is by getting together more often and using the power of the collective to amplify the light on this planet. So thank you for inviting me, Dennis, and for creating this beautiful place with Carlos and everyone else who's contributed over the years. It's a beautiful community. Yeah, it's an honor to be here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Wonderful.
Of course. Time for cake.
I was gonna say, I always bring healthy stuff because I've been like plant-based for 6 years and I'm like really into that. But I couldn't do it today. I just had to go. It's Dennis's birthday. I'm just gonna grab a cake.
It's
And then I
appropriate.
thought, well, we'll put some fruit around it to kind of make it a little